Hello everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today. So I have round 2 of using techniques that I don't like, hate, on my face to do my makeup. So I always like to think that what I give you on this channel is educational and we'll learn something from it. This might be a little bit, extra, but that's fine. We're all going to learn something today. I'm going to talk you through the techniques that I don't like as I do them on my face, and we will discuss why they're not so great. So let me just say before we do this, if you use any of these techniques, fine. If you like them, absolutely fine. I'm going to tell you why I'm not so into them. We are all adults. You can make your own informed opinion. Okay, so what was I going to say? Oh, I just want to say one thing really quickly, and this isn't sponsored. I bought this with my own money. Remember, guys, in the UK, it's illegal not to disclose adverts. I just want to say that because when I really like a product, I feel like I can't share it because people are like, you've been advertised. On Mondays, I basically do my makeup and I tell ghost stories that my subscribers have sent in. And a lot of people are asking if I had my brows laminated. I have not. My brows are so thick and out of control. I've been using a brand called Pink Honey, which is like a brow gel. But it's more like a solid kind of wax. And you just stick your little brow brush in there and give it a spin and then take it for your brows. But it's the only product I found that has really, really super glued my brows up like this. So yeah, check it out, Pink Honey. So first of all, if this is your first time to my channel, welcome, hi. My name is Robert, I'm a professional makeup artist here on YouTube and also in real life. And it is my goal to help you become a pro yourself or just someone who's really good at makeup. And sometimes that means separating what we see online versus real life and seeing how that works for us in real life. And I know some people say, makeup has no rules. It's an art form. It's absolutely an art form. I would say individuality and creativity have no rules. However, makeup most definitely has a theory, and videos like this, as well as being fun for everyone to watch me cringe, are to help learn makeup theory in real life that you can put into practice. So let's do this. So I'm just going to allow my soul to leave my body before I do this. So one of my first hates for makeup techniques that we see online is too much skin prep. You absolutely have to prep your skin for makeup. It is so important to have an amazing canvas. However, we need to do it in a way that supports the longevity of our makeup, meaning that we want it to last a really long time. We don't want oil to break through. We don't want our dry skin texture to ruin it. What I see a lot online, where do I start, is excessive use of product. Again, being dripped on the face. I hate people dripping product on the face, and I would never do this in a professional setting. These are my own personal products. So I'm using this primer first, which, by the way, I think I said in my previous one of these dots that I applied would have been enough for my whole face. Now, especially as somebody who is oily, what I should be doing is prepping my skin in a way that helps with oiliness. Now, when you're doing your normal skincare routine, I have a whole video on prepping oily skin, and I'm planning to do one for drier skins too. But when you're prepping your skin for makeup, like when you're doing your normal skincare routine, you can use like moisture and you can use oils and you can really hydrate your skin, even if you have oily skin. Of course, you need to. For makeup, if we're prepping skin for makeup and we want it to last a long time and we want it to look its best, what we have to do is prep for skin literally to your skin type. So as an oily person, what I ideally want to do is use something that will mattify my skin. Now I'm going to go in with a color corrector I don't need. People must waste so much money on products, Now already, this is too much product for my oily skin. Color correcting your skin before makeup isn't a necessity unless you have like an extremely red face or extremely dark circles or extremely dark patches. A lot of the time, foundation and concealer is more than enough to cover. But we've kind of been taught by like tutorials online that you need to color correct. Even people that don't need to color correct in their online tutorials use color corrector. I can literally feel my skin rejecting this excess moisture. I just have one more layer to go. Oh fuck, this is a new shirt. And this is another thing I noticed as well, is that a lot of people just buy products because somebody recommended it. But is it for your skin type? Do you need it? Like, do you need all this stuff? I'm also not going to rub this in properly. I'm just going to leave it to sit on the surface of my skin. Again, it's really important prepping your skin to really kind of, you want to be gentle on your skin, but you also want that skincare to get into your skin. So you kind of need to massage it into your face. Otherwise, you just get this layer on top of horrible product. So let's move on to brows. My brows are quite thick. Okay, let's fill in this scar because everyone always asks me why I don't fill it in. So I'll just do that first. It's really difficult to fill in because it's scar tissue and it doesn't really hold on to brow product. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to completely block off my brow. Now here's the thing of blocking off your brow. Not only does it look extremely unnatural, but it can really kind of darken up this area. Your brows are so important to the shape of your face. It can even help structure your nose. If I was to bring in my brows further in, it can make it help. It can help my nose look slimmer. And then let's just block off everything. So instead of creating like nice hair strokes, which I think is a really great way to do the brows, I'm actually just gonna block off a whole thing with no definition. And it doesn't matter if you mess up a little bit because we're gonna do something later that will really help tidy up the brows. So what we're aiming for is to have the brows to be more like just a shape rather than have shape or definition. Mysterious. Okay. Now this is something that always proves to be quite controversial on my channel, and that is concealer as an eyeshadow primer. Here is my thought about concealer as eyeshadow primer. So eyeshadow primer, eyeshadow base, whatever, is a barrier between your eyelids and your eye makeup. So it stops oil from coming through. Eyelids, on a lot of us, not everyone, some of us have extremely dry eyelids. I don't, I'm super oily. It acts as a barrier between the oil that comes through because oil breaks down makeup. We use oil to take off waterproof mascara, liquid lips that stain, you know, we use oil to break down the toughest of makeup. So imagine oil coming through your eyelids and breaking down your eye makeup. Now, people use concealer on their eyelids and then powder on top as an eye base. I don't like that because concealer has moisture in it. Concealer, foundation, any product that's meant to go on your face actually contains some kind of moisture, so it can move around, so it can look like skin, you know? Even matte finish products have a tiny bit of moisture in there. So to use moisture on top of oil here, you're kind of asking for those little lines to come through, breaking down your eye makeup, all that. And then people say they put powder on it to help stick. So there's two reasons. People set the concealer with their powder. I did that the other day on this video and I had to stop the video when I was editing it and comment because I had these lines on my eyelids. And that's from using concealer and just sitting with powder. Bear in mind I do have very oily eyelids. So that's why I always like to use eye primer because it helps the product last. And also when it comes to blending, I never bash anything without trying. So I have used concealer as an eye base before. And here's what I found. Blending on top of concealer is a lot harder, but even with powder on top, is a lot harder than blending on an eye base. An eye base really helps grip to that product, so you're not just moving it around. Blending isn't moving product around the face, it's keeping it in one position and then buffing out that product. That's what blending is. It's not moving it from here to here. That's moving product. Of course, I'm going to use concealer as an eye base today. And when I'm doing these techniques, they're all things I've seen online. So I'm going to go across here for some reason. Now, in my previous version of this, I did my eyes using too much eye base, not concealer. You can go and check out how that turned out. You can also get these like 2-in-1, eye base and concealer. Listen, no. No. The skin under your eyes is so different to the skin on your eyelids. To say that something is suitable for those different skin types and textures just doesn't sit right with me. It's either going to crease really badly underneath your eye or it's going to be really greasy on the lid. Fresh. So eye makeup, I never really see much wrong, so I'm just going to quickly do my eyes and then we can get into the rest. I forgot one thing. So obviously my eyelids are creasing already because I'm using concealer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to blend that out and then we're going to set with powder, which I actually think makes blending even worse, but we're going to do it anyway. I mean, this is what we do on our faces, like on our whole face. We use concealer and then set with powder or foundation set with powder. But again, eyelid skin, completely different. Now I've got this really silky texture on my lid that is going to be horrible to blend on top of. Okay, let's go. So I've just done some random thing on my eyes quickly. So let's move on to my next stage. So we're going to move on to foundation. And then we're going to finish up the eyes in just a moment. Now, one thing I've noticed a lot, and this tends to kind of come up in like Instagram videos, where you get these like salons and academies where the makeup artist or person who does makeup is doing the makeup. And that is that they use the same undertone on every single person. They use a yellow foundation, and it's always 2, 3, 4 shades darker than their skin. And it's kind of like people are just choosing a foundation going, yeah, that's the color I want to be. Like when you get your nails done, yeah, that's the color I want. And then just kind of shoving it on their face. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, I'm someone who wears SPF 50 every single day, so I feel like being a bit tanned. So I'm going to take a shade that's a little bit darker than my skin tone. And then what I'm going to do, where's a flat foundation brush? So I'm going to take a flat foundation brush and I'm just going to apply this. I'm not going to blend it out, I'm just going to apply it like paint almost, like I'm trying to cover a wall. And I'm actually a neutral undertone, so I'm actually a little bit cool, a little bit warm. So really I should be using a foundation with more of a neutral undertone, but this yellow one is fine. I'm not blending it on, I want to cover my face first. We're almost applying it like, you know, like a clay mask. And let's leave a gap around my hairline. And I'm just going to take a beauty sponge and I'm just going to tap that in so it creates like this layer on my face. Not blending, we don't want to blend it in, God forbid. This is my new skin colour. Now I always think if you like, you know, tan, say you go on sunbeds or you fake tan but you don't tan your face, you can honestly deepen your skin enough with just a bronzer. You don't need to go some crazy dark foundation, because a dark foundation on lighter skin is just gonna look like that. You don't have the undertone to wear a darker foundation. Wear foundation that's your skin tone, maybe 1 shade darker, and bronze it up, bronze down your neck. Don't use a completely dark foundation. I'm surprisingly pale. I look like I shouldn't be pale, but I am. Next up for concealer is this new trend that I've been seeing online. And it's like how to be a bit more natural with your concealer. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna lift, we're gonna put our concealer here, and then we're gonna wrap this around the face here. Now, the reason I'm not really into this is because to lift, you have to be a little bit more precise. If you're trying to lift the face, you need to be a little bit more precise with where you're applying product. You can't just be like, I'll put it here and here like everyone else and expect the same results. Also, people still use excessive product. By the way, a lot of people commented on my last video about this, like, do correct on the other side. If you want the correct versions, just watch any of my other videos. So basically, after it's blended all out, all we've achieved is exactly the same results as putting that like massive triangle under our eyes. Again, I'm just tapping it in. I'm not going to blend. I'm just going to tap it into the face. That's again a thing about like beauty blenders or beauty sponges. It's a very misleading name because it doesn't actually blend. It just pushes onto the skin. Look at that weird, just that is such a weird shape. Okay, let's sort out these brows. Not that they don't already look incredible, but... So let's carve out these brows. And what I'm going to do like a line under here. Which is absolutely fine. I do that often. I quite like a good carved out brow. But why stop there when we can do the top of our brows as well? And basically we want to give our eyebrows like this weird halo. Considering we've just used a really dark foundation and then we've just used the lightest concealer that we use to highlight. That's good stuff. Okay. So now we have perfect skin. I'm going to take a bronzer, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the biggest brush I can find. Use that in my bronzer. And then I'm just going to go anywhere. Just going to close my eyes while I do it too. Now the thing is with bronzer, when you apply bronzer, it's not a contour, but it does definitely help sculpt the face. So really what you want is some kind of precision and definition and thinking about where you're going to actually bronze rather than just anywhere with a huge brush. I personally like to use a more precise brush with bronzer. Something with a slight angle to it is good, so you can really get like in those areas and buff and give your face some definition. Now I look sunburnt, but I'm bronzed. Hey, that's exactly what we wanted. All right, blush. So I'm also going to take quite a big brush here, and I'm just going to smile and apply it to the apples of my cheeks. That went a bit too far. Let's buff that out. But here's the deal with blusher. Blusher really does help shape the face. So a lot of people just apply blusher on the apples of the cheeks and think that's where it goes. However, now all you can see are the apples of my cheeks. You see? And also, my blusher applies right up here. And when I stop smiling, can you see that drop? So you're actually kind of dragging your face down a little bit. I like to bring blusher up here, just up in this area here, to kind of lift the face a little bit more. That way you're also going to sculpt the cheekbone, you're going to lift the cheekbone. If you have a particularly like kind of flatter area here, then absolutely apply a tiny bit of blush there. Just don't smile when you're applying blush, because it's not going to stay that shape unless you're going to walk around like this all day. Let's do highlighter. And I believe I did highlight it in my last one, so I'm just going to apply highlight, a line here, and I'm going to mix that in with my bronzer so we get a nice kind of grey effect. Oh, and I'm going to mix it on my blush as well, so we get this nice textured cheek. And I'm going to apply it all the way down my nose and in the middle of my forehead. Now here's why you need to be more strategic with highlight, is because where your highlight is placed should be where light bounces off your face naturally. So I would move my head around and see where light catches my head. As an oily person, I don't like to do highlight in the middle of my forehead because it looks like oil and it looks like shine and it looks like grease. Just above a brow here and just here would be perfect. What color are my cheeks? Nobody knows. I'm just buffing that highlight a little bit more. Now, I never usually do lips, but I do want to share lips with you today. So we're going to do one of my favorite things that I see online, and I believe they're called beef lips or steak lip because it looks like a really rare steak. So what I've done is I'm taking a brown lip liner. I just apply that to the outside. I'm also going to draw over my cupid's bow, so I lose any definition I had in my lip. I'm also going to draw under my lip. Now, overdrawing your lips under your lips has to be one of the biggest things not to do. To make your lips look bigger with a deeper liner, you can absolutely use a deeper liner like this. Where's my gloss? You can absolutely use a deeper liner like this. Shade in these outside corners as well as the lip line with the lip liner. Now, to get the perfect beef lips, I'm going to take a lighter colour. And I'm not even going to bother blending a pencil into my lip. I'm just going to... Now, don't get me wrong, I love a darker lip line and a lighter inside, but once you've done your liner, take like a lip brush with nothing on it and just soften up that line around the edge, otherwise you get these beefy steak lips. Right, I'm going to put some lashes on. All right, everyone, so that is the finished look. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Let me know, just let me know. Check out my previous video where I did techniques that I hate. It's a little bit more intense, I'll admit, it's more intense. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you very soon. Bye.